For decades, people who spent their time on this remote ranch in Utah reported events they couldn't explain. Whatever was happening there didn't arrive suddenly, it built slowly, and by the time people realized something was wrong, they were already living inside of it. Skinwalker Ranch sits in Uinta Basin of northeastern Utah, surrounded by open land, distant hills, and long stretches of silence. For generations, local Native American tribes avoided the area, not because of a single story or legend, but because the land itself was believed to be dangerous, a place where something was off. For most of modern history, that reputation remained local, until a family moved there in the 1990s. In 1994, Terry and Gwen Sherman purchased the ranch with the intention of raising cattle and living quietly. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then, small things began to happen. Animals behaved strangely, locks failed without reason, sounds came from places where nothing should have been. The Shermans didn't immediately assume anything supernatural. They believed there had to be a rational explanation. That changed after the first major incident. One afternoon, the Shermans noticed a large animal approaching the property. It resembled a wolf, but was far larger than any wolf they had seen. When it reached one of their calves, Terry Sherman fired at it from close range. The animal didn't react. Only after several shots did it retreat, moving calmly into the surrounding brush. The Shermans followed its trail, expecting to find a wounded or dead animal. They found nothing. No body, no blood, no evidence that it had ever been there. From that point on, the ranch no longer felt normal. Over time, the Shermans began finding cattle dead under strange circumstances. Some appeared mutilated with no signs of a struggle. Others were discovered in open fields, untouched by scavengers. In several cases, the deaths seem almost precise, as if whatever caused them knew exactly what it was doing. At night, lights would appear over the property, not aircraft, not stars. They moved silently, sometimes hovering, sometimes accelerating in ways that didn't make sense. The family also reported objects vanishing and reappearing. Tools left in one place would be found days later somewhere else. Equipment failed repeatedly, often working again without repair. None of these events felt dramatic on their own, but together they formed a pattern. What disturbed the Shermans wasn't one single incident, it was the consistency. Whatever was happening didn't feel random, it felt persistent. When they tried to observe it, it stopped. When they ignored it, it returned. The family began documenting events, hoping that someone would take their concerns seriously. Eventually, someone did. In the late 1990s, the ranch was purchased by billionaire Robert Bigelow, who funded a scientific investigation through the National Institute for Discovery Science. Teams of researchers, engineers, and observers spent years monitoring the property. They installed cameras, sensors, recording equipment, and yet many of the same problems continued. Equipment failed without explanation. Events occurred outside of camera range. Activity often ceased the moment it was actively monitored. Despite years of study, researchers were unable to produce definitive conclusions. Some investigators believed environmental factors could explain the reports. Unusual electromagnetic readings, geological conditions, or psychological stress. Others suspected exaggeration or misinterpretation, but none of these explanations accounted for the sheer variety of phenomena reported, or why they appeared to cluster in one place over decades, involving different people. Eventually, funding ended, the investigation stopped, but the reports didn't. What separates Skinwalker Ranch from other paranormal locations isn't the intensity of the stories, it's their overlap. Animal mutilations, unexplained lights, strange creatures, equipment failure, psychological effects. These phenomena rarely occur together. At Skinwalker Ranch, they do. Even today, people who spend time on the land report similar experiences. No explanation has fully replaced the mystery. Skinwalker Ranch remains one of the most studied and least understood locations in the United States. Whether the cause is natural, psychological, or something else entirely, remains unsolved. What's certain is that the people who lived and worked there experienced something they couldn't explain, repeatedly, and over long periods of time. And whatever was happening on that land never seemed interested in being understood.